Hello guys and welcome back to FXQ YouTube. EU4, amongst many other Paradox games, offers a variety of nations to choose from. Some of them being extremely strong, some of them being weaker than what other nations may have to offer, but what really is the best nations in Europa Universalis IV in the start date 1444? Well, that's what we will talk about today. In this video, you will learn about the top 5 strongest nations in EU4, along with an honorable mention. Ranked as the fifth strongest nation on our list, we have England, which could form Great Britain later on into the game. England starts off as the strongest nation in the British Isles and can find itself quickly conquering through the globe by conquering of Irish miners, moving on to Scotland and eventually defeating the French. England also holds missions that are unique to its own nation, and with the Rule Britannica DLC, England, once forming Great Britain, can find itself conquering to land with ease by completing the English/British mission tree, which gives off permanent claims for the GBR Empire, along with minus 10% liberty design subjects by completing the Surging Colonies mission in particular. Great Britain also have amazing national ideas once being formed from England. Its ideas allow the British to become a global economic and naval powerhouse, along with a good chance to kick off early in the colonization game. Some of the best ideas from Great Britain include plus 20% naval morale, plus 20% goods produced, plus 20 settler increase yearly, plus 5% discipline, and plus 15% heavy ship combat ability. Plus, with the Rule Britannica DLC, England also have access to a lot of coal, a late game resource which significantly boosts production. When playing as England, it is almost impossible to fail economically and in naval combats. However, England is ranked lower than the other nations in the list because, unfortunately, its advantage only focused on the economy and navy, and not so much militarily wise. And therefore, if not played wise, the English Empire may suffer significant damage against the superior French development and morale, along with Castilian colonial dominance. Nobody expected the Spanish Inquisition, but every experienced EU4 player will expect Castile or Spain to be up on this list. Castile is ranked 4th on the list of strongest nations because of its dominance in colonization and one of its events, which is perhaps the most powerful event by far. Castile starts off as the most powerful nation in the Iberian region and have amazing starting ideas of plus 1 missionary and plus 15% morale of armies. When its ideas are fully unlocked, it also gains an incredible boost of plus 25 settler increase, plus 3% missionary strength, and plus 1 colonist, which is useful for inward perfection as well as colonial expansion. Castile almost always gains access to the incredible events of the Iberian widening, which allows it to get Aragon and Naples both under its control, which allows the player to expand quickly with military might as well as providing the player with faster formation of the Spanish Empire. Castile also have a chance of getting Portugal under its control via events and parts of the HRV as well. With the Golden Century DLC, Castile even gains access to powerful colonial missions focused on the colonial dominance that rivaled the British mission tree. While Golden Century is enabled, Castile also gains unique flagships with special abilities and can appoint orders for special free development basically that are unseen outside of the Iberian region. In every way, Castile is a dominant diplomatic, inward perfection, and colonization player. However, Castile is still ranked 4th on our list because, again, its ideas are primarily now focused on the military and can start out in a dangerous location if Aragon and France teams up against it. It is also worth noting that the Iberian region is the worst developed region in Western Europe, slowed down by economic growth. The great motherland of Russia has always been a threat to the world, and that did not change in EU4. Muscovy, or later Russia, is ranked as the 3rd strongest nation on our list because Muscovy starts off as the strongest nation in the Russian region and perhaps the entirety of Eastern Europe. Muscovy, or Russia, is empowered by its ideas, which grants itself claim over the entire region, allowing faster conquests. Once Muscovy forms Russia, it also gains amazing ideas that, when unlocked, allows plus 33% manpower modifier, minus 10% shock, and plus 5% morale, minus 10% core creation cost, and minus 10% aggressive expansion, plus 1% yearly legitimacy, plus 10% artillery combat ability, minus 0.10 yearly corruption, and the amazing Siberian frontier idea that colonizes Siberia for Russia. These ideas are super effective militarily and can end up being basically unmatched by any other military ideas in the world. Plus, Russia also gains access to one of the world's most powerful religions of Orthodox and has a government that allows even more manpower and max states. If the Third Rome DLC is enabled, Russia also gains government reform abilities, one of them giving Russia special regiments that gains combat bonuses. Russia will also be able to colonize multiple provinces without costing an insanely amount of money with Sir Rome. In any way, Muscovy/Russia is just superior in military strength. However, it is worth noting that Russia does not have good economic status and will suffer economically, and because it has no significant power cost reductions and has the Eastern Tech Group, its technology will be lacking behind against all major Western Tech Group players. At number 2 on this list, we have France, or what many other players will be comfortable calling the Great Blue Blob. Unlike many other EU4 nations, which is more or less starting off okay and is only empowered by their ideas and events, France starts off as perhaps the strongest nation in Western Europe. It has the highest development by country in Western Europe and is in good position to move on to its neighbors without resistance. More importantly, once the threat of main event fires, the French will gain an insanely amount of advantage over England and can take an insanely amount of land in the early game with no aggressive expansion. Sometimes France can also gain the entirety of Burgundy, its user rival with instant cores, if certain conditions are satisfied. The French also have access to other events and missions that, although not good as the Russian, British, or Spanish missions/events, will still be beneficial for conquest. But the most important advantage that the French have is its ideas. It gains plus 2 tolerance of heretics and heathens, plus 20% manpower modifier, minus 20% fort maintenance, and plus 10% tax modifier, which is all good for administrative reasons. But what really empowers France is insane plus 20% morale for armies, plus 5% discipline, and minus 10% technology cost, all hidden within its ideas. This is why the Big Blue Blob was called the Big Blue Blob in the first place, because it can blob out so easily. And finally, on the number 1 spot, we have Ulm. Ulm, along with its amazing starting location, development, and ideas, is among one of the. Nah, just kidding. This is a paradox joke in case you didn't get it. Ulm is actually considered by EU4 players as one of the weakest nations in EU4. Anyways, let's get back onto the real strongest nations, the Ottomans. The Ottomans, which is basically Turkey in EU4, are almost recognized by every EU4 player as the strongest nation in EU4. I mean, even the 1444 start date is titled The Rise of the Ottomans. The Ottomans, being the strongest nation in both Europe and the Middle East, has a superior naval, military, and economic force compared to its minor neighbors. This is why the Ottomans can expand so quickly. Its neighbors are just too weak. However, there are, of course, also insane boosts to the Ottomans. The Ottomans gains the best tech group in the early game, the Anatolian tech group, which gives off insane boosts to its early units. The Ottoman missions, just like the Russian missions, are amongst the only missions that give off the entire claims over regions, and the Ottoman missions gives even better claims on more developed areas. The Ottoman ideas is also one of the strongest in the game, with plus 5 discipline and plus 3 tolerance of the heathens, plus 33% force limit modifier, plus 10% trade efficiency and tax modifier, minus 20% core creation cost, plus 20% manpower recovery speed, and plus 15% cavalry combat ability. The Ottoman ideas are great for expansion, military, and economic purposes. The Ottomans also host 100 events which, if fired, will give off great bonuses to the nation. If the player has the Cradle of Civilization DLC, then the Ottomans could even gain a unique unit that is even stronger than the Russian unique unit. In every way, the Ottomans is just unbeatable and perfect for world conquest. Although the most developed nation in the start date 1444, Ming, did not make the cut, I would still like to give an honorable mention to this nation. Ming is underrated by many when considering its economic and military power in the beginning of the game. Starting with over 1,000 development, Ming is definitely unrivaled in the East Asia region. Ming also has okay ideas which give off some discipline and a lot of economic boosts. The Zhen He event that was fired is also one of the only events that give an insane amount of monarch points, along with the perfected poaching event which gives even more money to the Ming powerhouse. If the Ming player manages to expand quickly in the early game, then in the late game, Ming will become unstoppable. But the problems with Ming is that since Ming is so big in the start, Ming will get a lot of separatism problems, which, if not properly managed, will cause the Ming explosion. With the mandate of having DLC, however, they did make adjustments to Ming to make it unrivaled. However, Ming is so stabilized now that it's harder to expand than ever with the mandate of having active. Not to mention that Ming has one of the worst religions in the game, which with even the admin tech cost reduction, Confucianism is so bad for expansion cause it has to harmonize with all the other religions. Well guys, thank you for watching and this is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and make sure that you turn on notifications. See you next time.